Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, this evening. My name is Sandra Dennis, and I am the president and founder of Avancion. I'm going to give us a minute or two to make sure that we are live. We are live. Perfect. So we're going to ask folks to share. And we're super excited about this conversation. Today, we are here with phenomenal folks who are running for District 20, the congressional seat in the state of Florida. And that was most recently Alcee Hastings' seat, Congressman Alcee Hastings' seat. And so I'm joined by Commissioner Nancy Mateer, who is our Policy and Advocacy Chair for Avancion. Really quickly, Avancion is a movement for Haitian American millennials. We preserve culture in Haitian Americans born stateside. We also connect and re-engage with our freedom fighting spirit to build economic and political power in Haitian communities in South Florida. We know that the numbers of Haitian Americans have grown substantially. Previously in the census, we're actually going to have an update this coming week. There are about 300,000 Haitians in South Florida. We know that number has grown exponentially. We know that we are a voter bloc, and we definitely, specifically in South Florida, I am in the district, and so I'm excited to be hearing what the candidates have to say. And another thing we will say is earlier this year, a coalition of partners came together and put together a Haitian American policy agenda. If folks haven't taken a look at that or read the document, we'll definitely share it on our social medias to ensure that you all know what the Haitian community has prioritized as issues that we're concerned about and where we want to see our elected officials move and push at whatever level that they are. And I'll pause there and really ground us in what the role of an elected, a congressional elected official is. Because many of our folks, we don't take it for granted that this is not folks day to day and may not necessarily know what is the role of a congressional elected official versus a county commissioner versus a city commissioner. And so our Google search says that you have to be you have the congressional person, specifically the House of Representatives. There are 435 House of Representative elected officials, and they are proportionately across different states. So the more numbers you have, the greater the population is in a state, the more representatives there are. The Constitution requires that you have to be at least 25 years old. So all folks who are running are at least 25 years old in this seat. And each of the elected officials for the U.S. House of Representatives serves a 2-year term, and then they have to be reelected. The primary elections for this seat will be in November 2nd, 2021, with the general election being in January 11, 2022. We know that there has many folks are elected officials already, and there are folks who are not. But folks who are elected officials, they would need to, specifically at the House, there hasn't been an election date set by our current governor for when those replacements will happen. I'll pause to see if Nancy wants to add anything in terms of the role of the U.S. House of Representatives.
Other than that, I think this seat really covers a huge demographic of not only Haitian Americans, but the Black majority here in Broward County, Palm Beach. This seat is very pivotal in the Black voice in both Broward County and Palm Beach. And it's super important that the person who does take this seat is the voice up in Washington, D.C. But other than that, Sandra, I think you covered pretty much the entire basis.
Right. Thank you so much, Nancy. What we're going to do now is pause because we for sure don't want this to be too much of a lengthy forum, but we're going to pause here and ask candidates to introduce themselves, not only introduce themselves, but shortly about what their platform and priorities will be. And we're going to give folks 2 minutes to do that. So make it short and concise. And we'll start with you, Ms. Sheila. Super excited to have you here.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me. I don't know if you'll be keeping the time or would you like me to keep the time?
Nancy will be keeping the time.
Nancy's keeping the time? Okay. Thank you so much. Good evening, everybody. Bonsoir tout le monde. Merci en pile pour quitter là pour parler avec tout le monde. Nom c'est Sheila Chef Phyllis McCormick. I'm Sheila. Something that we take very serious. This election means so much more to us as we're suffering, as we're seeing our brothers and sisters at the border suffering, trying to get in and being treated inhumanely with whips and chains. Our hearts are breaking every single day, but we're trying our best. But without that voice to carry us there, without that voice to change the narrative of the Haitian community, we will not be able to be respected and get fair and equitable justice, especially for the Haitian community. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Sheila. We're going to actually pass to Representative Bobby DeVos.
Thank you, Sandra and Nancy, for allowing us to have this platform and this space to present ourselves. I am State Representative Bobby DeVos. I'm currently the Democratic leader in the Florida House of Representatives. Prior to that, I served as a city commissioner in the city of Fort Lauderdale for approximately 6 years. I am a son of District 20, born and raised, came through the public school system, K through 12, and had the opportunity to be the first person in my family to go out to college and attend the University of Florida, go Gators. And also, I just highlight that because I've not only been the first, but I'm a product of 2 teenage parents. I am married to one Yvette DeBose, and we had the pleasure of raising 2/5 kids. And I always say that because Ethan and Jacob, who are 7 and 17, but we had the pleasure of raising my wife's kids. When I came into their lives, they were 1, 3, and 5, and now they're 21, 22, and Bree just turned 26. Graduated from the other school, Florida State. She's back home. She's an educator. My top priorities as it relates to Congressional District 20, I would say the number one is healthcare. There are so many issues that are plaguing this district, but right now I'm just sick of seeing people dying. And this pandemic has highlighted the lack of access of healthcare. And in order for people to have affordable healthcare, I think a lot of the pre-existing conditions we see today, we could have avoided them just simply by having healthcare and expanding Medicaid. And it's something that we could do on the federal level because the state has shown us time and time again with each governor that they will not and they do not care about our lives. As it relates to what's currently going on and it's affecting the Haitian community, my heart breaks as well. I know we'll dive into that a little bit more, but I will say this on the front end. From what I've seen, America is again falling short as relates to the Haitian community, because in any other situation, there is a process that is granted to individuals trying to get into this country. And I don't see us as a country going through that process. Everyone has a day in court, and it should be afforded to them. So I look forward to diving into that conversation a little bit more, but I wanted to just kind of open up with my position there. Again, I am State Representative Bobby DeBose, and I look forward to the conversation.
Thank you, Rep Bobby DeVos, and go Gators. I'm going to go to Rep. Omari Hardy.
You know, it's hard for me to hear two Gators talk like that, myself being a Miami Hurricane, but look, at least no one from Florida State is on this. This is it. Well, first off, thank you for having me and thank you for organizing this. My name is, can you hear me? Okay. My name is Omari Hardy. I represent District 88 in the Florida House of Representatives. That encompasses most of the urban and inner city communities of Palm Beach County, including West Palm Beach, Riviera Beach, Lake Park. All of those cities are in Florida's 20th Congressional District as well. I live and serve obviously in Palm Beach County, but I grew up in Lauderdale Manors and Broward County. Both my educators were teachers. I became a teacher as well after graduating from the University of Miami and moving up to Lake Worth Beach in Palm Beach County. If you've ever been to Lake Worth, it's a very interesting city. It's a minority city. About 2/3 of the residents are people of color, but when I moved there was not one person of color on the dais, and only one Black person had ever been elected in the city's history. And so I ran and I won by 18 votes, and I had an opportunity to serve the underserved. And that was where I developed this passion. And that was also where I got my political education, right? In reality, there are lots of people who talk a good game about what they want to do for working class folks. But when you give them an opportunity to actually do something for them, they find an excuse to back out of it or to fall short. And the key thing that I learned was that it's okay to do whatever you can do to go all the way for the working class people that you represent. And that's what I did. Before I got into local office, we had a drought where we hadn't built any affordable housing. My first year there, we approved 100 units. By the time I left, we had approved over 150 affordable and workforce units. In addition to that, I think most folks have seen the video with myself and the mayor and the city manager, me advocating for my constituents to make sure that the city's not cutting off their utilities. But, you know, it wasn't just that. I mean, you know, when it came to community IDs, we had to fight to get that done. And we got community IDs done in 2018, 3 years ago, which is something that 3,000 plus undocumented immigrants in Palm Beach County have been able to take advantage of since we got that done. And in addition to that, having served in the Florida legislature, I understand that the Republicans are playing for keeps, while in a lot of cases, it's not clear if Democrats are even in the game or willing to get in the game, right? And so I think it's important that we send someone to Congress who understands that they have to go all the way, that you have to be willing to get into good trouble to defend our voting rights, to defend a woman's right to choose, to defend our democracy, and to make sure that we do what we can do by working class folks. So I very much appreciate y'all for bringing us together, and I'm happy to participate.
Thank you so much, Representative Hardy. Commissioner Holness.
Bonsoir Tutman. Buenas tardes a todo. Sedale Holness. This district has a tremendous amount of diversity within the Black community. It's a seat that was designated to have a Black voice. I will be that voice, as I have been for the entire community, reaching across every ethnic group within our community. The situation that we see in Texas is appalling. It's inhumane. We must ensure that we empower ourselves so that our voices can be heard on issues like these, and that a few people don't hijack the whole system and allow our country to treat people the way we're treating them now. There's a tremendous amount of need in our country for workforce. Just today, we're talking about that at our county commission meeting, and I stepped off to address you this afternoon as that meeting is still going on, our second budget hearing. We must embrace the diversity of our country. Immigrants contribute to building this nation. We are all immigrants. And this country needs to be educated and informed the value that immigrants bring. 45% of our top companies in this country were started by immigrants. Immigrants create jobs for themselves and others. They work hard, they dedicate themselves to helping to build this great country. And immigration reform, full-fledged immigration reform, is a must for our country. If we do so, we could grow the economy by $1 trillion. That's what the economy says. We could strengthen our social security system. We could pay down the debt. The rest of America need to be educated to this and be informed about it. And that's what I intend to do should you send me to the United States Congress. I've been on the forefront of this. marching with Father Jean-Jules for the dignity of immigration treatment for the Haitian community, passing resolution as early as 2006 for TPS, creating sister city relationship with Haiti, representing two cities, Boynton Beach in 2012 when I met Cozy Joseph down in Okai, and creating one in 2006 for Lauderhill and Petionville. I've been engaged in this community for a long time, participating at every level. I've dedicated myself to helping move our community, our entire community forward, serving as the Broward County chair of the Black elected officials and devising the Broward Black Action Plan that seek to move the entire community forward. If we were to create equity for Black folks in this country, according to City Financial Study that was released last September, we could grow this country's economy by $5 trillion as compared to a loss of $16 trillion in the past 20 years. We must work together as a nation to build a stronger, better place, a more prosperous place for all of us.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Holness. And when we put together this forum, we knew it would be important to continue to engage not only Haitian Americans in the district, but the district in general, because this is deemed, although we don't really have off years in Florida, this is deemed an off year, a special election because of the unfortunate passing of Elsie Hastings. We for sure knew that turnout, and we wanted to make sure that people had an opportunity to learn about the candidates, but also learn about their platforms. We did not expect for prior to this forum for there to be what we're seeing on the border, and we would be remiss if we didn't have a conversation and or at least start with that question around foreign policy and immigration reform. In terms of context, we all know folks are familiar with Haiti. Haiti, when it got its independence, Haiti sent troops to many other countries, including the United States of America, to support with the Civil War. It's specifically around Savannah. We know that Haitian immigrants founded cities, Chicago. We know that Haitian Americans make up a significant portion of the Tri-County area. And again, our business leaders, educators, essential workers, et cetera. And for sure, makes America beautiful. We believe that for all immigrants. What we have seen at the border and what we have seen with foreign policy and immigration policy, specifically to Black communities, Black immigrant groups, and in particular to Haitians, is a level of racist, discriminatory processes that is actually illegal. And we want to name that. What we've also seen is elected officials passing the buck and saying, and not necessarily being clear as what they can do in the moment. And so we want to ask the folks who are candidates, if you were in office today, as it relates to the border, but also immigration policy, foreign policy towards Haiti, what would your priorities be? And whoever wants to start. Actually, let me go to, I'm sorry, Representative Hardy. I actually have to come back to Sheila, Ms. Sheila, because I think her intro cut off a little bit. So we want to give her back that time to do the final portion of your intro and go right into the question if possible.
Okay, well, I mean, I'll answer the question. Pretty much what I was saying in my intro was the need for us to have representation in Washington, D.C. from a perspective that's unique to the Haitian experience and the persecution we've just suffered everywhere, from the United States to the Dominican Republic to all the other countries that we started entering. Now, you asked me a specific question about what are we prioritizing? One of the things that I am passionate about and I am dedicated to doing is that we need to start changing the rules and the legislation that we have towards Haiti. We see that in Israel, there's legislation right there, and that legislation is built towards promoting more of a sustainable culture and economy in Israel, even where we're having billions of dollars going to Israel that is going to be spent in the United States by Israelis to use over there. So you have Jewish Americans who can use that, whereas we don't have the same policies going into Haiti. The policies that go into Haiti are directly one that are based off of dependency, where they're sending money in. We just saw that $32 million is going into Haiti, but there is no transparency as far as who's getting that money. One of the things that I've been fighting for is to ensure that we have our Haitian American businesses, our Haitian American nonprofits more engaged in a system where we would find that $32 million, it must be used by Haitian Americans who are positioned here, who have the same cultural competency to go into Haiti and to assist. We cannot keep looking at Haiti from the vision of the narrative that's being put forth. And that narrative is not from Haitian people. It's not from Haitian Americans. It's from everyone out on the outside who continue to paint us as a poor country who needs help, not recognizing that out of all the Black migrants in the United States, the Haitian Americans have the most wealth, not respecting us for the education, how we do sustain the healthcare system. And that comes from us not having a seat at the table. That comes from us not actually being able to advocate it. So I propose that we change our rules and start incorporating more that's economic centered, one that is actually pushing independence, not interdependence and interference, and ensuring that the policies are equitable. Because what we're seeing right now is discrimination. We have refugees at the border. We do not have immigrants. We know that we had assassination. We know that they actually can qualify for political asylum. Why are they not being given the opportunity? Why are they being beaten? That constant disrespect, it's been going on for years. And we talked about the foul stench of racism. And it comes to a point where we can no longer tolerate that. And that comes from a place that we've come to this point. We have been here. We exercised our power. I remember growing up where they looked at us and said that we were boat people. But now they have to recognize that we're not. We're leaders. And in being leaders, we demand equitable treatment. And we even demand even the wet foot, dry foot rules that they had in 1966. We need to have something like that for Haitian people, and we need to do it now. The president promised us that.
Thank you, Sheila. I'm going to go to Representative Hardy.
Yes, so with respect to the issue at the border right now, the key thing is Title 42. Title 42 is a law that allows the executive, the president, to expel migrants before they even have an opportunity to seek asylum. President Trump and Stephen Miller, both of them racists, used Title 42 and basically to expel migrants. And that is what is being used against Haitians at the border right now. And the Biden administration is actually fighting in court to be able to continue to use it. Now, look, I voted for Joe Biden. I supported Joe Biden against Donald Trump, but we have to call a thing, and we have to reach out to the White House, which is what I'm doing, and make sure that they know where we stand on Title 42, because that's the policy issue at stake at the border. And so if you are not reaching out specifically about this issue, then it's not clear how you're going to affect change here. More broadly, with respect to our immigration system, it is geared to exclude poor and working class people, even though this country would be unrecognizable, but for the contributions of poor and working class, and yes, people of color who are immigrants, right? And so we have to remove the red tape in our immigration system more broadly and allow the free movement of people, which involves repealing Section 1326, which criminalizes crossing the border without documentation, and again, making it easier for folks to immigrate to this country. That is long-term how we get to a situation where we don't have this crisis on the border right now.
Thank you, Representative Hardy. Representative Bobby.
Thank you. Let's just be clear what this is, because honestly, there are people crossing our borders in a lot of different places. 15,000 people, 30,000 people is such a small number. I mean, when you think about the millions of people that cross the border at different places, you know, when I saw this image, and the first thing I thought of was like, how did this happen? How did we get there? And started looking into it. And, you know, I think the bigger picture here is that the media is creating an image that's creating fear. So people are looking at, again, and it was stated, racism, a group of Black people creating fear around this issue. But it's simple in the sense that the question was posed, you know, what would I do if I was in Congress to address this? I think that we need to work to make our immigration process fair and equitable. I think we heard about wet foot, dry foot. That was completely unfair, and it actually targeted a certain community, the Haitian community. Let's call it what it is. It was not fair. Here we are again. We have a process in place. Are we using the credible fear process here? No, we're not. We're not using a process that has been set, precedence has been set. And when people are in this situation, they are asked those questions. They are given that opportunity. America, it prides itself on everyone having their day in court. Right now, the Haitian community is not being given their day in court, their process to come in and see if there is a credible fear. What they're doing is they're taking people, they're putting on a plane and sending them back. And even in the more I learned about this, some of these folks have been away from Haiti for 5+ years, 10 years. Someone saying, I don't even recognize, the place that I left. It's not familiar to me. I don't have family members there. So there's a whole lot of work that needs to be done. But the question was asked, once I got there, what would be the priority? What we do? I think the first thing we need to do is make sure that this process is treated fairly across the board. And we start just focusing in on this picture on media. Again, this is a small percentage of the amount of people, and there are other camps and other places. So let's not get fooled by the glitter of what's going on. What the real issue is here, that folks who are in similar position are being given their day in court, and the Haitian community is not. And that's the first thing that needs to be addressed before we start jumping into this other stuff. At least that's would be my priority. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Holness.
Sorry, I'm kind of juggling between a couple of different places. So certainly, number one priority is for us to really get immigration reform done for the whole country, for that matter. And even now, we need to start amassing resources to help resettle those who are allowed to stay here. I've been on the phone with many in our community to do that. Haiti is not a place for us to send people back to today. It is really horrific that we would be doing this. There are tremendous other issues, though, that we have to work on in order to accommodate the resettlement of folks here. Today, it's the hot item, but we must look down the road also to ensure that we're pushing for the dreamers and those who have TPS already. They actually have legal status now to stay here. They must be fast-tracked to getting permanent residency, getting their citizenship, because they're valued to our community. Many of them have been here for years. They know no other place but here. So we must do that in order to ensure that those remittances that now go back to Haiti continues, because these folks need to be regularized. And for TPS that's already expanded here right now, we have to help those who are here get their status updated. Those who were here before this year and those who are new. So I'm actually working with many of the organizations now to help give assistance. In fact, I've asked the county commission to allocate $250,000 towards this. Had a vote to send to the Biden administration that they allocate $1 million for us in Broward County to help those who are here now get the assistance they need. Many of these folks are not going to be able to afford the over $500 that you need to complete the whole process in order to get their status, in addition to paying someone to take care of the form. So I have several organizations that I'm working with right now, referring people to them, like Catholic Charities, FAM in Miami, Family Action, also World United Foundation in Palm Beach, the Haitian Consortium of Broward County. And then there's a whole lot that's going on right now that I'm a part of. I actually was able to get some seats for 30 nurses going to Haiti on the 30th of this month to do a mission down there to help those who are in need. The work is now. We can't wait till we go to Washington to start working. And I've been working on that, helping with citizenship also. Here's another powerful tool we must understand.
Commissioner Holness, we're going to ask you to bring it to an end in the next 10 seconds.
So here's a big piece that I asked the Haitian leadership and all of us in the community to do. Let's ensure that those who are here who qualify for citizenship become citizens and vote, because that's the voice we need to have. That's what will counter those folks who don't like folks that look like you and I to be here.
Absolutely. Nancy, did you want to add anything in terms of foreign policy before we go to the next? I see there's some folks in a Facebook group who are asking, what have folks done? I think some folks have answered emails, calls to the administration. We have many thoughts on what we are seeing and who's in control right now, and how disheartened many of us are who took the streets during COVID to elect officials. And so I think also with this current election that is going to happen on an off year, we have to be thinking about how we're going to engage people after they've been disappointed by our elected officials. Rep. Hardy?
Yeah, so I'm sorry, is the question specifically what have we done on this particular issue with folks at the border right now?
Absolutely, that is the question.
Okay, yep. So I have 2 calls in to 2 contacts at the White House, because this is really an issue of, how the president enforces certain laws. The law that he's using to expel migrants at the border has been used in the past, not just by him, but by President Trump. And it's not actually an immigration law, it's a public health law. It's Title 42. And that is what is creating this tremendous issue at the border right now. That's the most immediate issue, right? So if we want to do something to stop the inhumane treatment of Haitians at the border right now, is to get to someone at the executive branch and say, hey, this is a problem. You all need to stop this. We helped you get there. You're not with us, right? And so that kind of communication is extremely important, and that's what's going to address this issue short term. Long term, I just think we need to wrap our brains around the policy here, because that's what we are, and that's what we're vying to be as policymakers in Washington, D.C., and realize what is it that we should be aiming for. It's a path to citizenship, of course, for people who are here who have some sort of legal status or no legal status whatsoever. But in addition to that, we have to look at our entire immigration regime and not just patch up the situation for people who have been ensnared by it, but reform it so that it no longer ensnares additional people. That means reducing the red tape for people to immigrate to this country. If we have a costly and complicated immigration system, then who's going to be able to make it here? It's folks who have money and resources, and that's not right. And so that long-term as policymakers is what we should be focused on, and I intend to do that.
Absolutely. I know, Ms. Sheila, did you have one more? Okay.
Yes.
And we're going to move to the next question.
Okay, so as far as what have we done, I got the call on Friday about what was going on. I've been working with Haitian Bridges, which is Gerline Joseph, and we also been working with the National Association of Haitian American Elected Officials to do a fact-finding mission. So by Saturday, we realized that there were whips being used. We realized that they were only letting 40 of them in per day on average, and that most of them were being sent back, not even being told where they were. So we immediately had to start sending funding down there so who was being released can meet their families. They were being dumped at the gas station. So we immediately had to start funding buses to come in. But what's very important that we need to understand is that going forward in all of these projects, we have to understand what led us there. When we first had the assassination, we immediately called for transparency. I immediately started working with other organizations to find out what's going on because we knew this was something that was coming. After the earthquake, we immediately started sending medical resources. We immediately started sending funding down there to get more people in and out. And we started calling for not just to rush in with food and supplies, but let's start rushing in strategically. And I've been demanding for transparency from the administration for the $32 million that's going in, demanding that they incorporate Haitian American businesses and Haitian American companies, organizations who know how to actually help the country. So I've been very active for years, especially when it came to servicing the community and pushing us towards sustainability. But right now, the biggest thing we're asking for is for the actual president to sign in and do the National Emergencies Act of 1976, in which he can send more people to the border to start processing Haitians instead of sending them straight home. That's the biggest challenge we're having, is pushing him. That is him using the power of the pen. He can do that without Congress. He can do that right now. Use the power of the pen, send more people down there to start processing Haitians, and don't try to put them on planes without giving them notice of where they're going. So that's the main thing we're pushing for today, is to get them processed and get attorneys down there. I was on a call yesterday with the National
We're going to ask you to wrap up in the next 10 seconds, Ms. Sheila.
I can't see the signs, but okay. So long story short, right now we're pushing to get attorneys down there to help them exercise their rights at the border. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shalene. We're going to say welcome to Commissioner Sharif. We'll come right to you. Really quickly, we cannot spend all of our time on foreign policy, but on the ground, I know here in the Haitian American community, and as we discussed with civil societies in Haiti, in the Haitian American policy agenda, you'll also hear us mention U.S. manufactured guns in Haiti. Haiti doesn't manufacture guns. There are no gun stores in Haiti, but there are tons of guns all over the streets. And so, what we U.S. policy as it relates to arms, sales of arms to government is a foreign policy that we're interested in folks discussing with the Haitian American community, and also all the dollars that USAID receives, transparency about that, and who are players at the table to ensure that it is not Band-Aid solutions, but we're also building with and for communities in the country. Go ahead, Nancy. Commissioner Mateer.
Yes, thank you everyone for your responses. So we're going to pivot. We all understand that foreign policy and immigration is very important in our communities, but also there are other issues that impact our communities greatly. Really want to pivot to housing. We are currently in a housing crisis. There is a low housing cost, housing stock, and COVID relief for tenants and homeowners. What will you do in the response to this crisis?
Actually, Nancy, if we can actually have Commissioner Sharif start with an intro and then respond to the answer, or respond to the question, excuse me.
And welcome, Commissioner Sharif.
Thank you. Budget hearing just let out, so I am here. I am Commissioner Dr. Barbara Sharif, and I'm not sure how much of an introduction you're going to need, but I have been serving in elected office for 13 years. I was 11 years on the Broward County Commission, 2 years on the City Commission. Prior to that, served as a City Commissioner and Vice Mayor, served as the first African-American female mayor of Broward County in its 100-year history. I had the pleasure of doing that twice. I also served as the Florida Association of Counties President, the first African-American female in its 84-year history to do that. Currently, professionally, I'm a doctor of nursing practice. I'm 28 years in the healthcare profession. I own a home healthcare company that employs about 200 frontline professionals. And what I'm proud about is the majority, almost 90% of my workforce is of Caribbean or African-American descent. So I'm providing jobs where we need it the most in our community, and just over 200 frontline heroes throughout Dade and Broward County. I'm going to pivot over to the affordable housing question. You know, the first thing that we have to do in Congress is allow some flexibility with our HUD vouchers and funding. One of the things that I advocated for in the county commission is to allow the use of HUD construction dollars for HUD vouchers on construction projects. We have to go into neighborhoods and blighted communities where we see a need that for affordable housing, and partner with organizations that are going to build up the communities without gentrifying them. And so that's been a goal. I've presented projects on the commission to that effect, and I'm going to continue to advocate for that in Congress. And I think the second thing that comes along with affordable housing is making sure that people can earn a livable wage, and that's supporting the federal minimum wage of at least $15 plus health benefits. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sharif. We're going to go to Representative Bobby DuBose.
Thank you, Sandra. Commissioner, can you repeat the question for me, please?
Absolutely. So the question is geared to housing. We are currently in a housing crisis. There's a low housing cost and contributing to low housing stock and COVID-19 relief for tenants and homeowners. What will be your response to this crisis?
My response to the affordable housing crisis, I think, is twofold. One, federally, there are programs and there are dollars that can be allocated to help with first-time homeowner buyers and things of that nature, to expand those, because we know that home ownership helps generational wealth. The second part of that is that we have to pay people a livable wage. A lot of times we talk about a minimum wage of $15, but in many cases, $15 is not a livable wage. In certain areas, you still have folks who are making that and more, and it's not quantified as livable. So I think what we need to do is to create an industry in Congressional District 20 that will bring about higher paying jobs, which set people up to have a livable wage, which will help with the affordable housing issue. So it's twofold. We got to address a livable wage, and then we also can invest in and make opportunities greater for individuals to have home ownership.
I actually want to chime in and ask, I'm going to actually push folks and stretch around what we are proud, grew up in Melrose Park, proud District 20 baby. I'm going to push us around. Currently, what we see is there is housing stock. There's just not housing stock for working class people. What we see is a lot of development around luxury housing, right? We also know that the eviction moratorium is up. There's no more eviction moratorium. We know that folks have gone without work and that they are going to be processed in the court systems around evictions. They will have evictions on their records. What will be your response as a elected official in Congress around this? We're coming right to you, Representative Hardy.
Thank you. So on the eviction front, I've been working on this for years, literally for years. Look, tenants should not be taken to court without having representation. It's not fair to have someone, especially when you talk about the immigrant community, where in a lot of cases your children are translating for you and you're up in court against somebody who went to law school in America for 3 years and passed the bar and who does this professionally. That's not a fair and even playing field. And that's why at the local level, I proposed putting money on the table so that folks in the city of Lake Worth would have the ability to get representation through legal aid paid for by the city. And just having the representation changes the behavior of the landlord, because now all of a sudden, instead of filing for that judgment, he's trying to go into mediation where these things can be taken care of out of court, right? So I think it's very important that we have tenant protections. One of them is just cause evictions that needs to be done nationally at the federal level. One of them is also right to counsel that can also be funded federally, perhaps passed through to the states via block grant so that folks can have attorneys. But the other thing is, look, we need to make housing assistance an entitlement, like Medicare or disability, for example, right? If you qualify for disability, you get it. There's no wait list once it's determined that you qualify for disability. The same thing for Medicare. Well, guess what? Over 3/4 of people who qualify for housing assistance never get it because we don't fund it to ensure that everyone who qualifies can get it. So we need to put money on the table. Now, a lot of folks are going to say, well, how do you pay for the millions of permanently affordable housing units that we will need to make a dent in this crisis, or the millions of additional vouchers that we need to make sure that everyone who qualifies for Section 8 can get it? You tax the rich. You implement a wealth tax, you raise the corporate tax rate, you close corporate tax loopholes, you increase the income tax rate for wealthy people, and you also tax money earned from investments at the same rate that you do money earned from work. The capital gains rate is lower than our income tax rate that you or I pay. That's why Jeff Bezos has a lower tax rate than us. We got to tax the rich and fund these programs.
Thank you so much. We're going to come to you, Commissioner Holness.
Thank you. So we must also work to increase home ownership. Part of the issue is if you own, you can continue the legacy of ownership to your children because you can transfer that for them. You can build equity in the homes to help send your kids to school, to help start a business, to retire on. So that's a big piece. And also, we must change the paradigm. Section 8 housing voucher now goes just primarily to landlords. We must expand the usage of Section 8 for home ownership. Some cities and counties are doing that, not all. Miami-Dade is doing more of it than Broward County. Very little, if ever, been done in Broward County with that. And the federal government can incentivize that. One of the problems right now why many of these housing authorities don't do this is because they lose funding when these vouchers go outside there must be an incentive for them to ensure that we're utilizing that. Secondly, home funds that the federal government sent down must target more affordable housing, and larger amount must come. So there must be greater funding that goes into that pool to ensure that we expand in the creation of new affordable housing where needed. And also, we must look at these opportunity zones that have been created to ensure that dollars be targeted to these communities. These are low-income, high unemployment communities to help with housing, with infrastructure, with health, with education. And additionally, the legislation now doesn't call for the people in these communities to benefit from the jobs that are created or the businesses in these communities. That must also be a part of the amendment to this legislation. And finally, those people in these communities ought to be able to invest their money, if they can pool it together, or whatever means, and pay no capital gains, as we're allowing for these wealthy folks who want to come in and invest without paying any capital gains. In Broward County, we fund legal aid, and we can expand that through the federal government, giving additional amount of funds directed to organizations such as legal aid to protect those tenants that might have an issue going forward.
Thank you. We're going to go to Ms. Sheila, and we'll come back to you, Commissioner Sharif, because I know I reframed the question a little bit initially, so we'll come back to you as well. Ms. Sheila?
Well, I think what we have to do right now is look at a comprehensive plan, because there's stages in this, right? We have an immediate need where we have people right now who need to stay in their homes and who can't afford to pay rent. At that point, I'm leaning towards us moving forward and pushing out equitable stimulus checks, which Congress has been using as a successful tool to fight poverty and to help people stay in their homes. But we need to expand that process, not just to parents and people who have children who now have received their fourth check. And if you do have 3 children, you receive $900. If you have 4, you've already received $1,200. So we need to have more of an equitable relief for immediate issues such as housing, immediate issues such as even being able to eat, drink, and live and survive, right? And then when we move on to long-term solutions, we have to rethink how we actually think about housing. We need to build more housing, but what is that equation going to look like? We do need to consider generational wealth building, which traditionally has been through home ownership. All of that has to be rethought. And especially when it comes to minority communities where English is not your first language, it has to be simplified. The funding has to be there to make it fair for everyone to be able to apply. And we see in a lot of different localities that they can get it in a different language, but we don't have a national rule that recognizes Creole and allows people to go through the process in Creole and being able to simplify it. So there's a way we need to do it that is cumulative, which is immediate. And when I first started talking about that $1,000 stimulus check, a lot of people disagreed, but we have 96 members of Congress who agree. We have localities who are doing it. We even have the city of Gainesville who's doing $500 a month for their felons who return. So we just have to think about this on an equitable manner and not let our district be left out of recovery, especially when it comes to living in our homes.
Thank you so much, Sheila. We're going to go back to Commissioner Sharif.
Thank you. So one of the things that I think has to happen is making homes affordable again. President Barack Obama, under that program, I helped to save over 3,000 houses in Broward in my district. And what that program did was it refinanced high interest rate mortgages, which we know we specialize here in Broward County and in the South Florida area. It also allowed homeowners a purchase price assistance. And what I think that program needs, it was very, very successful, but what I think I would support as a Congresswoman is that program plus a second chance option. And what I mean by that is that people have experienced bankruptcies and foreclosures, not just due to the recession, but also due to COVID-19. And when they have a steady job and they're working, we continue to penalize them and not give them the opportunity to regain home ownership. That's part of the problem as well. So if you want to look at it from that perspective, if we actually gave people a second chance option with down payment assistance and fixed interest rates that were not inflated or ballooned at the end, I think we could accomplish home ownership very well in this district.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Sharif. I'm going to take the next question, Nancy, and we can go back to you for the following. We're right off of home ownership and affordable housing. We're going right into student debt. right? We're millennials, gone to school, tons of loans. You can't buy a house under 300,000 in South Florida. And even with under 300,000, you still got to do a lot of work in it. These are the conditions that folks are living in. President Biden, the Biden administration said that community colleges would be free. There was also some talk around student debt reduction or elimination. And the millennials want to know, where are we with that? And what would you do if you were in Congress to respond to student debt and what students are going through? We're going to come to you first, Representative Hardy.
I appreciate that because I'm the poorest person in the legislature because of student loans. But look, here's the reality. We're the only country in the world, as rich as we are, that requires students to go into debt to better themselves and get an education. It's a moral abomination. It's also a strategic failure, because what we're doing now is we're encumbering an entire generation of people with this crushing student debt, and that is preventing them from doing more productive things with their capacity as workers, as potential business owners, and so on. There are folks who can't qualify for a home right now because they've got so much of their income devoted to this student debt. We've got folks who can't open a business because they've got to keep paying Uncle Sam, the Department of Education. We've got folks who've had their credit tanked from the very beginning of their adulthood for no reason other than the fact that they have student loans and struggle to repay at the beginning of their adult lives. It's an abomination. President Biden has the authority right now via executive order to cancel all student debt. He has the ability to do it. This is not a progressive dream. I don't think anyone calls Chuck Schumer progressive, but even Chuck Schumer said that Biden has the authority to do this via executive order. He should do it. If Biden is not able to do it, and by able, I mean unwilling, then Congress must act and forgive student debt. And I'm not talking about forgive it up to $50,000. I'm talking about forgiving all of it, because no one should have to go into debt to get an education. And here's the thing, it's not good enough to say that community college should be free. Education is a public good. College should cost as many dollars as public K through 12 education costs a person. That is to say, it should cost $0. We can do this. We are the 6th richest country in the world. We are a great nation. We have the ability to do this. But again, it goes back to, are we willing to tax rich people to provide equity for everyone else?
Representative DeBose.
Thank you. I'm no millennial, but I am all for student loan forgiveness. I still have them myself, and I'll be honest with you, I'll take that $50,000. I'm just be real. I'm gonna keep it real. Of course, I would love more, but 50,000 would be a good start for me. And I think about this not only from the perspective of having loan debt, but also having young kids. I mean, I have them as young as 7, so I don't know what the future's going to look like for Jacob. But, Bree just rolled out of college and a couple of years ago, and she's an educator. And so she's dealing with exactly what you're talking about. So for me, I mean, dealing with something like this is twofold. It's so personal that it's immediate, because I understand it. I feel it. It's not just something someone said to me. So absolutely, I would push in Congress to get the administration to give the loan forgiveness, be it 50,000 or more. But also, we do need to be smart in the sense of how we're preparing for the future. It's not just when we talk about millennials and not being able to afford housing and stuff like that. It's not just to push them all into going to college. I mean, there are other career paths, there's other things so we have to think about this in a comprehensive way, because it's the next generation that we're moving forward. And if we straddle them all with that, regardless of such, then the next generation, and when I say generation, talking about our communities of color, we're going to be dealing with some of the same issues. So I think that the way to address this is the loan forgiveness. But as we look towards the future of education, not only when we talk about college, I will wrap up. I didn't want to get that note from you, Commissioner, but I'll come back with it. But I think it's a more comprehensive approach. Thank you.
Absolutely. We're going to go to Ms. Sheila next.
I do.
Actually, go ahead. We'll come back to you, Commissioner Holness.
Okay. So I do believe that we have to restructure our student loan debt. One of the biggest things that we see is that there was an inflation problem going on where we were taking loans and we felt like education was our great equalizer, right? That's what you do to come out and be strong. But we didn't realize that the rates of those loans were astronomical and they were not fair. And we saw a lot of lawsuits coming out. And so just on principle of the deception that happened to people who were taking out loans, they need to be erased. That wasn't a fair system when everybody knew the interest and how now people have more interest to pay than the loan they took out. So we have to not just take promises and rely on the president to do that. We have to take affirmative steps seriously to make sure that we remove all student loan debt. It takes more than $10,000 because those interest rates were much more than $10,000. That's not what we're looking at. We're looking at a student loan debt rate of some people have 50, 300,000. Me and my husband together, when we got married, we were coming in with student loan debt of over 300,000. Just because we decided to become attorneys and go get the highest level of education. That's a punishment for wanting to serve your community. And it was deceptive. So we have to take a real stance on removing student loan debt. And I don't believe we should wait on the president. I think that's something Congress has to do quickly, because if we don't, what we're going to do is stifle the next generation. And we'll see that we're not going to be able to grow and have businesses and even have the evolution of technology when you have people who are so encumbered on how can I pay my bills? How can I survive? I can't even get married and have kids. That is a detriment, and that's a shame for the United States to have to live in that society.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sheila. Commissioner Holness.
Well, let's start with free education, 4 years college, technical or vocational training programs. Not everyone's going to go to college. We need to also get technical and vocational training in the mix of this. We must be competitive with the rest of the world. Our competitiveness is limited if we're not doing this. Other countries have invested heavily in this, such as Israel and other places, that is bringing them return on their investments. Because now with the technical skill and the education that these folks have, they can do more in their countries to grow their economy. Student debt forgiveness, student loan debt forgiveness is certainly a must. We must do that. Now, one of the things that we might have to do, and being elected for a while, I understand sometimes you have to negotiate your way to where you want to go. You might not get it all. So we might start with free education for any family earning under $150,000, expand it out. I learned here at the county commission that sometimes you take some now, but you keep in mind that you got to go for the rest of it, because you need to get the votes to get to where you need to go. So you gotta, if you have all the votes, then go for all of it. But if you don't, you do it in an incremental way to get to where you need to go and ensure that we're competitive with the rest of the world.
Thank you, Commissioner Holness. And for sure, we're going to go to Commissioner Sharif, and we'll start with you on the next question.
So I'm going to answer that question now, right? Okay. So the first thing that I would do in terms of student loan debt is one, I agree with that. You should make community college free, but we know that the interest rates on some of these student loans are high, and the length of time that it takes people to pay them off is substantial. And so I would advocate for a full or partial forgiveness, but knowing that we would have to get a consensus between the House and the Senate to do that. I would have to say that we're going to have to use that dirty word of compromise. And I know people don't like to hear that, but that's the only thing that we're going to be able to do to accomplish what we want to do. And I just want to say that education is the key to breaking generational poverty or temporary poverty. And I experienced that when my father was killed when I was 14. He was shot in his chest in front of my 19-year-old sister while he was at work. Someone tried to rob him. And when they did that, that changed my life. And I had to work 3 jobs to put myself through nursing school. And I wrote essays and I got Pell Grants, and Pell Grants saved me. And, you know, I'm one of those people that I was lucky. I took advantage of my opportunities. I have 6 college degrees now. And as a doctor of nursing practice, own my own business. I'm not your average story, but I am a success story. And that's because I had a chance with Pell Grants and college funding. So scholarships. So thank you.
Thank you. We're actually going to pass to Nancy for the next question.
Again, thank you all for all of your responses. We're going to pivot now to climate change. We all know that climate change is a hot buzz topic, and many folks are very concerned about the state of our environment in the next 10, 30, 50 years. So with that being said, how would you deal with the trade-offs when pursuing a sustainability agenda, creating jobs and increasing GDP while working on climate mitigation, adaptation, resource efficiency, and biodiversity? And we're going to start with you, Commissioner Sharif.
Great. So I worked on the 16 County Coalition for Water Resources now for a while and attended those meetings for some time now. And one of the things that we are challenged with is protecting the coastline and Florida's resources. And that includes adjusting for climate change and population growth. And if we as Congress would just fund the 68 projects for infrastructure, water improvement, and water reservoir treatments, and aging infrastructure, we could create higher paying jobs while we're fixing Florida. And that goes right in line with President Biden's Build Back Better plan. I would support that plan because I know exactly where to identify the need in Florida and to get the resources down to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sharif. We're going to go to Rep. DuBose.
Thank you for the question, Nancy. A lot of times when we talk about climate change and sustainability and jobs, I think we have an opportunity here in Florida and in Congressional District 20, especially in Belgrade, a poor area, and we have agriculture. I think we need to understand, and here's where our community, especially people of color, are missing out, is that industry is growing. That industry is taking off, and many of us don't even have a clue. I spent a couple of summers in Iowa at a agriculture summit, and I learned so much. There's so many opportunities, higher paying jobs. Agriculture is no longer just in the fields. And these are the types of things that we need to explore and we need to bring to Congressional District, all over the district, but specifically in the Belgrade area. And we have a huge opportunity. We have 2 land grant institutions here. One of them being Florida Agricultural Mechanical University, strike again. And of course, the University of Florida. But what is happening up in Iowa and places like that, they're partnered with these universities. They are training individuals, retraining folks so that they're qualified and they're prepared for these higher paying jobs. So I think when we think about climate and change, infrastructure, all those things are great. But when we start talking about our community and what's going on, we need to make sure that we embrace agriculture, because I think the two go hand in hand.
Thank you. We're going to go to Rep. Hardy.
Thank you so much for the question. Climate change is obviously an existential crisis, not just for Americans, but for the human race. And, here's what I think. You asked about the trade-offs. This is why I believe in the Green New Deal, because the Green New Deal handles the trade-off in that policy, right? So on one hand, we have to lower emissions by at least 40 to 60%. By 2030, and we need to get to net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050 to even have a chance at stopping climate change. That will require changing our economy to a great extent. But how can you politically get that done if there are folks who are working in extractive industries? If you work in the coal industry in West Virginia, or if you work in the oil gas industry in Texas or in the Permian Basin somewhere, how are we going to get you on board with basically stopping the extraction of fossil fuels? We have to make sure that you're taken care of economically. And that's why the Green New Deal has a federal jobs guarantee. That's why the Green New Deal has a guarantee of universal health care, so that folks who are working in industries that we really need to minimize will be okay and taken care of if we move forward with a plan to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And look, I'm a former history teacher. There was a president named Roosevelt who came up with an administration called the Works Progress Administration. He put millions of Americans to work doing infrastructure with federally funded programs. And today we have folks trying to extend and build on that legacy with a civilian climate core program to basically do the same thing that Roosevelt did 80 plus years ago, but adapt it to the challenge that we face today, which isn't a Great Depression, but it's climate change. So we have an opportunity here to address the issue without losing on the economy, and while also making sure that we're providing financial and economic security to folks.
Thank you for that. We're going to go to Commissioner Holness.
Thank you. Of course, I'd hire an environmentalist like you on my team, at least as an advisor at minimum, because it's important that you have people at the table who understand and know the science even more than you do. As elected officials, we must ensure that we're listening to the scientists and looking at the data and finding the correct way forward. We must do better than we're doing. Certainly, if we don't, there won't be a planet here for our children and our grandchildren to survive. So let's look at some things we can do right now to ensure that we're doing what's necessary. That can create jobs. We can ensure the buildings that we're in have greater energy efficiency. And that's something that Broward County has embarked on. We need to do quite a bit more with that. The vehicles that we're looking to purchase, the buses, are now electric buses. That's another way for us to do it. We can also subsidize and increase the production of renewable energies that will then help to reduce the emission that is causing a problem. But that will create a growing economy, which is along the path of the Green New Deal, which I subscribe to. Certainly, we must lead the world in this effort because doing it here at home alone is not going to be enough. We've got to make sure that the climate accords that we sign on to, that we ensure that they're being lived up to, and if need be, put some dollars behind it. Developing countries such as Haiti ought to be given some assistance to replant the forestry that existed there before, and we fund that because it's going to benefit the entire planet, and make sure that whatever we're doing is sustainable going forward.
Thank you. Ms. Sheila, you're up.
Well, I believe that we have to really, really be bold at this time and master and push for the Green New Deal 110%. If we look at the context in which we're living in right now, all the jobs are going to be agricultural and environmental sustainability. What we see in the Green New Deal, we have even money coming in for education, continuing education. And if we don't have right now, start putting in place where we have our workforce, our employees, and our businesses start incorporating environmental sustainability practices, start understanding what that looks like. When we pass even the Build Back Better deal, when we pass the Green New Deal, we will not be in position to capture it. Presently, we see that we have billions of dollars that go into this state and we do not capture those dollars. That is the biggest issue why we have unemployment at such a high rate. The unemployment rate in some of our districts is 29% with state average of 12%. The reason is that we don't have jobs. So we have to be aggressive and say, no, we need the Green New Deal. But more importantly, we have to ensure that we're capturing that. And that takes someone who has the legal knowledge of how to do that to prepare it. As the leadership director for the Haitian Chamber of Commerce, that's what I've been doing for the last 4 years, ensuring that the businesses match with the law so they can be really taken seriously and get those contracts. Make sure that the employees are preparing themselves so they can work those jobs. So we need to bring that education into the community for 2 reasons, for jobs and also so they can recognize the discrimination that happens in environmental practices. There is a crisis going on, and it's impacting us more than anybody else who's in Congress. More than anybody else is our district and our people, and we must take that seriously. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And as we continue to think about this and the conversation that's happening online, it'll also be shared and boosted so that people can continue to engage with you all. We also know that climate migration is real. We also know that people's ability to prepare for storms before they come is often impossible. And so we know maybe in the executive branch, I'm not clear, or even in Congress, we need to reconsider what support looks like so that people can actually plan for disasters versus just recovery on the other end. So those are some of the things that come up as it relates to climate. And we know we're in Florida, it floods all the time. We know that some of our communities, while on elevated ground, the infrastructure in terms of the housing, the quality of the stock, whether or not the homes are weatherized, are also concerns, and whether or not there'll be funding to support folks who do own their homes to make sure that their utilities, as well as the things that are in their homes can stand when there are storms as well. We're gonna actually speed it up because we definitely want to get folks out at 8 o'clock. So we're gonna take health and economy at the same time, specifically because we're in COVID and we realize if we are not healthy, for sure there won't be a booming economy. And so there's talk around one, COVID really putting out on Front Street, we would say, the young folks will say on Front Street that we have a U.S. healthcare system that doesn't work, right? That's fractured, that really needs significant improvement. We also know that the economy, when the economy tanks, that working class folks take the brunt of it. And so how would you respond as an elected official going into Congress, knowing that we have to deal with the U.S. Healthcare system as well as economic recovery that touches those most impacted? And we're going to start with you, Commissioner Sharif.
Great. So what I'd like to say is that I think that there has to be healthcare access for everyone. And what that means is closing that gap between the Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act and covering those lives. And in working on a national bipartisan health steering committee through the National Association of Counties under President Barack Obama for 9 years and serving as chair, I know that we have to do that. And I proffered an idea to create a Medicaid 2 that is federally run and administered by the same people who administer the Medicare program, which would cost us very little in the long run, but we could utilize the dollars that Florida turned down for healthcare. And that wouldn't cost us any more money and wouldn't create a addition to the budget deficit. Additionally to that, we have to decrease prescription drug costs, and that is going to happen with block buying programs where we negotiate with other countries and other pharmaceutical companies to buy the drugs that cost the most here in America. One example of that is arthritis creams, diabetes medications, and high blood pressure medications. We have to negotiate those to decrease the cost. We can't have seniors choosing between food and buying prescription drugs. And so I think that those are two of the things that I have to focus on in terms of healthcare. And when you talk about the economy, in dealing with COVID-19, small business assistance, changing the rules for the SBA lending program to allow people who've had a bankruptcy or a foreclosure an opportunity to get a loan without a very high interest rate or being turned down in the traditional lending industry. I think we have to work on changing that. I myself, as a business owner, have experienced that it's very difficult for Black and brown businesses to get loans. So I think those are the things that I would work on in Congress. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Sharif. We'll go to Commissioner Holness.
Yes, certainly Medicare for all ought to be put in place and expand that. Let me tell you that when Obama won, my office was utilized as the center for galvanizing support for the southeastern portion of Florida to ensure that we get that passed. But that's only a start. We must go beyond that. We must further direct and target resources towards communities that have high employment, high poverty rate, to ensure that we're building medical centers right there where the people can access it easily and readily. Through the broad Black Action Plan, we laid out a pathway to look at how we grow the economy for our community. I'll give you a little bit of statistics. When we pulled this, Blacks in Broward County median household income was $42,000, 54 for Hispanics, 74 for whites. We know that Blacks has 1/10 of the wealth of whites in our country. The city financial report that came out, the study that they did that was released in September last year, show that we lost $16 trillion in gross domestic product over the past 20 years. But if we're to fix it, we could grow our economy by $5 trillion in the next 5 years. We have to look at how we ensure that Black-owned businesses are growing, women-owned businesses are growing. That's something that I've led on at the county commission. When I got here, 10.25% of our procurement went to our CBSB program. Today, it's 44% at $136 million last year that went into that program. So that's a big piece of what we have to do. SBA must be utilized as a tool for technical support, as well as ensuring that there's access to capital for these businesses. And additionally, we've got to work to sell more of our goods and our services to the rest of the world. That's why I started Florida's International Trade and Cultural Expo, where in 2019, we brought 60 countries here to do business. Many came from Haiti over the years that we've had this program in place. We can sell more of our goods and our services to the rest of the world if we're focused on it, expanding programs that exist today to ensure that more of our business, especially our Black and brown business, understand the opportunities to export goods and services, not just goods, but services.
Thank you, Commissioner Holness. Representative Bobby.
Thank you. It's interesting that we tie the two together. We talk about the economy and we talk about healthcare. I think what the pandemic has shown us is that we shouldn't have the two tied together, because we talk about the economy, we talk about jobs, we talk about folks who had jobs and lost jobs, and they lost their healthcare. I think healthcare should be made accessible to everyone. And then the other thing that we saw too, when we talk about healthcare, it was pretty much the have and the have-nots. You know, folks who had money and had discretionary income, even right down to the vaccine. They got access to the vaccine, So I think it's very important, it's very telling, and this pandemic has shown us that we need to make sure that affordable healthcare is accessible to all, because it has shown not only in that space, but also the pre-existing conditions because of the lack of. So people have died as a result of those two being tied in that way. I think as it relates to the economy, and also let me say on the healthcare, I'll also add that, you know, as I opened up as it being a priority, that we need to make sure that we can expand Medicaid from a federal level, because on the state level, we have fallen short time and time again with each governor and pushing back billions of dollars, which has resulted in the people actually losing their lives, you know, here in this state, and especially in Congressional District 20. And again, in the economy, I think that, yes, we need to invest and have resources, all about the dollars for small businesses. Because the other thing that we saw happen, and we can talk about the millennials as well, is that they were very innovative in growing small businesses, starting online. So we need to get out of traditional way and embrace what is actually currently going on and invest more in those opportunities of platforms, because those millennials did create those jobs, and now they're bigger and they're a big part of our economy, and they're actually providing people with a livable wage.
Thank you, Bobby DuBose. We're actually going to try to hold steady the 2-minute responses so that we can get out in as close to on time as possible. Nancy has given us the 1 minute. So I'm going to go to Representative Hardy.
Okay, can I get 1 minute per topic?
We'll give you your 2 minutes.
So look, on healthcare, it's very simple. We need single payer Medicare for all. We have a profit-driven system here in the United States that has caused nearly 30 million people to be without health care, and nearly 20,000 Americans to die each year because they lack health care. What that means is that because they don't have the money to help someone profit off of saving their lives, these corporations, whether it be the insurance companies or the drug companies, don't step in and save their lives, and people die as a result. That is, again, an abomination. And so we need to get the profit motive out of the healthcare system. And the first step to that is Medicare for all. The second step to that is having a fully integrated public healthcare system, just as Great Britain has, just as Australia has, just as many other countries that are as rich as us have. That's something that we deserve to get the profit motive out of this system, because healthcare is a human right. It should, your access to it should not depend on someone's ability to profit off of it. So that's number one. All the stuff about Medicaid and Medicare for all is where we should be going. With respect to the economy, look, we have to understand it's not our job or role as elected officials to blackwash what capitalism has done to America. I am less concerned about trying to generate the next Black billionaire and trying to help the Black upper classes than I am with uplifting the marginalized masses of Black people who are going to jobs every day that don't pay a living wage, that don't have health care. Folks, first generation immigrants who are going to school, trying to better themselves, and who are burdened with student debt more than their white colleagues are. So we need a broad-based economic agenda that's built on Medicare for all, that's built on a Green New Deal to create jobs while transitioning our economy, that's built on a livable wage, that's built on access to higher education without having to go into debt. That is what we need, and that's what I'm campaigning on. And I appreciate the fact that y'all brought us together. Thank y'all so much.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much. And Sheila, we'll go to you on this question as well.
I'm happy that you intertwined the two, because the two are intimately related. For the last 10 years, as I've been advocating DC, writing bills, being involved in the conversation about healthcare, the biggest issue that we have is the social determinants that stops you from getting healthcare is economics. And that's a reality. Even when it comes to cancer treatment, there are treatments that are called to be experimental. And that experimental, you have to have a certain kind of income. Even the evaluation, it's not just. And it's for people who have money. That has to end, because we cannot live in a country where you decide whether you live or die based on how much money you have in your bank account. And those are the factors that they're taking into consideration. So is healthcare and economics intimately tied? Yes, especially in our district, where we find so many people don't have jobs that pay them enough so they can have healthcare, or jobs that give them benefits. And that's why we must look at the two at the same time. The real issue that we have with healthcare is that we don't have a universal system. So we must have healthcare for all, Medicaid for all, Medicare for all. But the problem that we're having even with Medicare for all is that the system in place, the bill's only 75 pages or 45 pages, and all it does is has steps of incorporating. But that system in itself is broken because it does not incorporate preventative care. Preventative care pulls in what? The economy, and it also pulls in the climate, because we were pushed towards preventing certain things like diabetes. We see that in certain states where they focused on preventative care, diabetes was reversible in some states. We saw also that certain things that lead up to hypertension and cardiovascular disease, which are the two biggest burdens on the healthcare system, that it was reversible and you can prevent it. So every time I've been in Congress and we put forth Medicare for all, the biggest thing they said, well, how are you going to pay for it? And when I explained to them that we could lean on preventative care and have more of a system that it's integrated and that we would actually have the money there, everyone agreed. But the real issue is that I wasn't president, I wasn't in Congress, so I can't do it. So we need someone who can hit the ground running. Hitting the ground running is not saying I know 4 people who said they're part of a group and they endorse me. It's actually having the relationships. Hitting the ground running means that you've written policies in Congress, you know the conversation, you know what we're pushing for. And especially right now, when everyone in Congress is concerned about economic recovery, when everyone's concerned about how do we grow, federal funding and contract acquisition has been able to bring communities from the bottom to the top. When we were on Biden's minority vaccination project, we were able to pay people $20 per hour when we asked to come onto that project. That shows you the change. We had some MPs who were getting paid close to $200 an hour. That changes everyone's trajectory. In addition to that, attaching it with vocational training, then we would see that we would grow even more. And that's what I've been able to do. I've been proven when it comes to economic growth, from our vaccination sites, from our small business, having a healthcare agency, from providing over 1,200 jobs, from creating generational wealth, from even creating a situation where we even got more than three companies, which are all Haitian, contracts over $10 million. There's a way to do this. There's a specialty of understanding how to do it, how to move it forward. And that has been something that I've specialized in. And right now I'm moving forward so we can see our district grow as a rising tide. That's the only way we can make it. And it's been done in South Carolina. Look what we see Clyburn has done. He has changed the trajectory of South Carolina. We can do it here. I've studied it, I've seen it, and I've implemented it, and we've seen it grow. It's proven, and it's now time for us to do it.
Thank you, Ms. Sheila. We definitely want to wrap, but there are some spicy questions in the chat on Facebook. So we're going to do a few, and probably we won't have a chance for everyone to respond to them, but definitely if you are feeling so moved, we'll definitely ask you to respond. Nancy, do you want to take the first one? And I also want to apologize. I don't want to assume that people can go past 8. We for sure, if you have to go, we understand, we appreciate it. If you can stay on an additional 10 minutes, we'll appreciate that as well.
Yes, thank you all so much. And I also encourage you all to go into the chat as well after this programming and answer any of the questions we weren't able to get to. So we have a question for our county elected officials. It says, if there hasn't been change with crime, healthcare, and economic development at the county level, how do we trust you to actually work at a national level? And I will start off with Commissioner Holness.
Actually, let's ask people to, if they feel so moved, to take it. So that goes to any of the commissioners at the county level.
Well, I say to you that there have been changes. When you look at when I started here and the contracting opportunities we had with our small business, minority, women-owned businesses, there's a profound difference between then and now because I've been focused on that. So let's look at our small business program where I can rattle off different entities that are Black-owned, women-owned, that when I got here were subcontractors that are now prime contractors. One in particular went from a small subcontractor to where in the past 3 years has averaged more than $5 million in gross revenues each year, outgrowing the system. I'm now looking to see how we augment that to ensure that we don't kick him out without having some opportunities for him to continue to grow and build his business. Last year, I passed the ordinance creating the Criminal Justice and Police Review Board to look at policing, to look at the criminal justice system across Broward County, bringing many entities together to ensure that we're putting new policies in place and implementing them, passing the civil citation program for adults, revving up from the juvenile civil citation program and being at the forefront of that to where we're not arresting and locking up our people for misdemeanor offenses, which is what we have done. And it's a waste of human capital for us to do that. I've been at the forefront of that. Anyone examine my record will see that I've been out there on this issue in a very, very strong way. Working also to get other like-minded elected officials across the county. Many have had my support to move an agenda that is purposeful, that makes a difference. Passing the workforce investment program, now putting in place with strong support from the others, money to help those who are returning from our prisons and jails to get into work where they can work to maintain our buses by cleaning them, by fueling them. And then after 9 months going through this program, they're able to get a full-time government job working closely with OIC, who manages that program for us. So there's a lot that have been done. You just got to look and examine. There's still a lot more to do. Certainly, I brought before the county commission to look at how we do a disparity study to bring race and gender into the fore when we contract, look at how we hire, promote, and pay women and minorities at the county level. Didn't get much support from it. That doesn't stop me from moving forward because of some of the other issues.
Thank you, Commissioner Holness. I know we fam, all of us here on the Zoom, but we definitely want to give another Commissioner Sharif a chance to also respond if she wants to, and then we can take final question.
They were talking on everything. Can you please tell me what the question actually was?
Sure. The question was, if there hasn't been change with crime, healthcare, and economic development at the county level, How do we trust you to actually work at a national level for
So
Broward
first of
County
all,
commissioners?
yeah. So first of all, we need to have standardized law enforcement policies and procedures, as well as a standardized program for civil citation usage in the adult community. We need to legalize marijuana and stop locking people up for petty small possessions and petty crimes. We need to go back and retroactively start and release those who are locked up right now. It costs us over $3,300 a month to keep people locked up for silly stuff like that. We need to start by cleaning out the jail system, and only the people who really need to be there need to be there. And so taxpayers are not carrying that burden. And the last thing I'd like to address is that every endorsement in this race is important. And to have the elect Democratic Women PAC, which has 8 sitting congresswomen, is very meaningful. And 38 elected officials is very meaningful. And for people who throw shade about endorsements, that's because they don't have meaningful ones. Thank you.
Ooh. What we're gonna do is, I see your hand, Representative Hardy, and we're gonna come to you, Sheila, on the final questions. So we'll give everyone a chance. We've had a respectful forum. We're gonna end that way. We're gonna ask Representative Hardy, and then we'll come back to you, Ms. Sheila. Thank you so much.
So I just want 30 seconds on that previous, I don't need a whole. So what makes local government difficult is that people are asking you to address problems, but in reality, the tools you have at the local level address only the symptoms of the problem. So you might see homelessness in the community. Well, that's a healthcare issue. That's also an issue with the fact that the federal government doesn't spend enough money on affordable housing. So you're being asked to solve that, but you don't have the tools to address those issues. Having served at the local level, I understand that. And that's why I'm running for Congress, because we need systemic change, not dribs and drabs here and there.
Thank you so much. We're going to actually go to our final question and give everyone an opportunity to state their final thoughts as well. And we're actually going to remix it. I know we sent you all a guide. In 2 minutes or less, why are you the best candidate for this role? And how will your platform, your cabinet, reflect our community, which also includes many Haitian American millennials? We're going to start with Ms. Sheila.
I first wanted to start by rebutting. I never attacked anybody's endorsements, and I never said that they weren't important. And if you feel threatened in that case, that was never the case. And I never intend to attack Black women, especially. I was just showing that relationship building is very important when it comes to passing legislation. In addition to that, I have been endorsed by the Communication Workers Union. So if you feel that's not credible and that's not good enough, then I'm sorry for you, but working people are. I have been endorsed by Brand New Congress. If you feel like they're not important, I'm sorry for you, because those are—
We're going to ask Ms. Sheila to respond to the question, please.
Yes, I'm going to respond.
Why are you the best candidate? And how will you incorporate and ensure you include Haitian American millennials in your cabinet? Because even in diversity, we have to be nuanced, that we are reflective of the entire community in District 20. Well, and if you all want to rebuttal, we'll for sure invite you all to do that offline.
Well, thank you, Sandra. I just thought it would be fair that if someone's calling it out, I have a response. But the reason, as I go back to what makes me the best person for the seat, is because my heart is for the people. This is a district that I love. This is a district that I'm giving up my job, that I'm leaving my business. This job doesn't pay me more. I'm really doing this for the people, and my heart has always been for the people. Even and not as an elected official, I've had so many successes fighting for the district just because I love the district. I was asked to come to Congress to actually talk about the Affordable Health Care Act. And I was young at that time. At that time, I was 32 years old. And I was asked to talk about how do we implement the Affordable Health Care Act and make sure that the low income communities have access. And since then, I've been fighting. I've been fighting not just for healthcare, but also to increase more funding for our children with learning disabilities. And when they said it couldn't happen, and I said, yes, it can, we could put it through the healthcare bill. We saw that $3 billion went to children with disabilities, and $200 million of that is coming into the state. That is the work that I've been fighting for. In addition to that, I've been fighting all also to raise the wages for Medicare and Medicaid reimbursement to ensure that our CNAs have been making more than what they are. They hold up our system, and I have been pushing and fighting for that. I have political courage because I got up to fight when nobody else would, not because I wanted to get any kind of accolade, but because I knew it was right. And it took tenacity to stand up and do that. So if we talk about who can hit the ground running, it really is someone who spent the time developing those relationships, writing policy, writing amendments, having the conversation over and over. And I respect everyone on this. And I understand we all have something to give and something to offer. But what I'm asking is a humble chance at changing the trajectory of this district and ensuring that now we have a fresh mind, a fresh idea. Who's a fighter? I won't let Republicans influence the Democratic Party or even influence our district in these conversations about what can't be happening because Republicans said so. No, what can happen is what we set our minds to. And it takes a brave heart. It takes the love of the community to fight for what is right. And I'm Sheila Shefless McCormick, the first name on your ballot. And I will be fighting for you night and day like I have without any recognition, because this moment is our moment. This moment is for District 20 to take it home. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sheila. We're super happy to have had you on your forum. I appreciate you. And thank you so much for allowing me to redirect. We're going to go to Representative Omari.
Yes, ma'am. Could I just hear the question again? I just want to make sure.
Sure. So why are you the best candidate, and how will your cabinet reflect the diversity in District 20, inclusive of Haitian American millennials?
Well, first off, I'm the best candidate because I'm a fighter who gets things done. At the local level, I walked into a city commission environment where there wasn't a single person of color, where I was the only person on the dais who had a job, who was not a business owner or a landlord. And so I was dealing with folks who weren't where I was on policy issues that I felt would help working class people and people of color. And I had to figure out how to get things done, but we did it. You know, we built over 150 affordable housing units. We got community IDs done back in 2018. We put forward all sorts of new things, net metering, solar panels on people's roofs. We made it happen despite not having an environment that was favorable to us. We stopped the utility shutoffs in Lake Worth. But in addition to that, at the state level, which is an even more difficult environment to work in, where Republicans outnumber us in the House 78-42, I was able to speak for my constituents about what Republicans were doing to our community while still getting things done. A lot of folks say that you have to exchange your silence on major injustices for the legislative crumbs that the Republicans want to provide you, a minor bill here or there, a little appropriations project. Well, we got the biggest appropriation of any freshman Democrat in the House, a $1 million appropriation for the public safety complex in Riviera Beach. My first year there, despite giving the Republicans hell every time they came for our voting rights or our reproductive freedoms or our public sector unions. I reached across the aisle and passed a bipartisan bill to expand and protect home rule, which isn't something that we hear coming from Tallahassee very often, but we did it with House Bill 487. So I'm a fighter who gets things done. That's what our community needs in the United States Congress. My name is Omari Hardy, and I would be very fortunate to have your vote. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Representative Hardy. We're going to go to Commissioner Holness.
Thank you for putting this forum together. It's important that we have these types of communication. So first, let me tell you that on my team, there have always been Haitian Americans around me, surrounding me. I'm a part of the community. Anthony Bonamy today is my community liaison. I'm a part of many Haitian American organizations, HALO, HAPC in the past, the caucus, the Chamber of Supported. I am the person who I believe reaches out across every ethnic group in this community. No matter where, if you're from the English-speaking Caribbean community, if you're an African-American, if you're Haitian, if you're Latino, I am there in that community. They say Dale everywhere, and it's a serious thing that I live to ensure that I'm very inclusive. A life member of the NAACP, support the Urban League and many of his projects. 17 years experience in leadership in this community, ensuring that we're growing and moving our community forward. That's what I'll bring to Washington, D.C. An understanding of the needs of our community, making the contacts and the connection and utilizing those that I already have to move our community forward for prosperity for all. It is a district that has tremendous needs that we must address by bringing a cross-section of our community together, but also a fighter who's not afraid to fight, someone who's not afraid to be Black, because it is a Black district. And we must stand up and not worry about what other folks might think because you stand up for Black people. That is something that I've demonstrated clearly over many years as a city commissioner in Lauderdale, as a county commissioner here in Lauderdale. I started Lauderdale Chamber of Commerce, put together Lauderdale Education A+ plan, clean up the area that was called Deep Side, now nice and vibrant again, getting the drug dealers off the street from across the street from City Hall and the police station, and again working to ensure that we're building and strengthening our community. That's what you'll get from Dale Holness. Please vote for Dale Holness. Support a leader, proven leader.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Dale Holness. We're going to come to you, Commissioner Sharif.
Thanks. So one of the things that makes me different and unique from everybody in this race is my experience. My experience, not just as a doctor of nursing practice and a 28-year healthcare professional, but my experience in 13 years of elected office. I'm the only candidate that was elected statewide to serve all 67 counties of the state of Florida in Washington, D.C. I've lobbied on things from healthcare, Medicare, Medicaid, prison reform, civil citation, juvenile justice. I think my experience on the 16 County Coalition Water Resource Board, my 13 years on the Metropolitan Planning Organization for Transportation uniquely positions me to help to promote the democratic values in the Build Back Better plan. My experience as mayor of Broward County twice in that capacity, serving through natural disasters such as hurricanes, mass shootings, and my experience personally gives me a different perspective on gun violence and gun reform. I think that on November the 2nd, when voters go into the booth to check the name, they should check Dr. Barbara Sharif for Congress on November the 2nd and vote absentee by mail, because you want experience. On the first day, I can hit the ground running, know how to get a bill passed, know how to collaborate to get a bill passed, know what the county needs, know what the state needs. And that's my experience that makes a difference. Vote Barbara Sharif on November the 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Barbara. I'm going to go to Representative Bobby DuBose to close us out. Tell us why you and how your cabinet will reflect the diversity of the district.
Thank you for this opportunity. I'll start by addressing the diversity. Currently in my district office, and pretty much since I've been in Tallahassee, my aide is of Haitian American descent. Also, the person that is my general consultant for this campaign is also Haitian American. And so there's my diversity, and it's always been there. Even my time on the city commission, before I left, I advocated there were dollars that were given to work on establishing the first Haitian American Community Center in Broward County. But I want to speak a little bit more specifically as to why I feel that I'm the best candidate here. All of us are here fighting, and we fight for our community, and that is great. But I want to talk about someone who's battle tested and is appropriate for this time to go to DC. Serving in Tallahassee in this current legislative session has been very reflective of the tone that we have in DC. And so we had to fight. We had to speak truth to power. And as the leader, I had to make sure that we were in the proper posture with our community allies, such as the NAACP and many others, so that we were putting these bills in the proper posture, these Jim Crow 2.0 bills, so that when they went to court, that we had put things on the record to help our allies to combat these egregious bills. But in the midst of all of that, I was still able to pass key legislation. I passed students with disabilities, some of our most vulnerable. Restraint seclusion is something that we've been trying to pass in the state for 15 years. It is passed, it's signed by the governor. They're trying to pass it in DC, and I'm super excited about taking my experience and the success I had here to DC to protect all students. passed a rare disease advisory council bill, and rare diseases disproportionately affect women of color. I lost my mother to a rare disease, scleroderma. That is something that's been signed into law. That's very important. And then when we talk about institutional racism, the state of Florida, in order for a small business owner insurance company to offer a class and then be able to get a waiver where you can get your state license, there was only 7 companies that had that pleasure, and none of them look like us. I offered a bill, passed a bill. There's a Black woman who now has that same right because of legislation. So I give you those 3 examples because it's great to fight, it's great to scream and yell, and we can do that. But when the times come to be able to work to get things done that are going to affect the district, I am the only person in this race who has done that with legislation and passed legislation, and it will be prepared from day one going to DC to serve as your next congressional congressman for Congressional District 20. So again, I thank you for the opportunity. I thank you for the platform. And I'm going to end with Go Gators.
I thank y'all so much. We're not going to do this, y'all. We got 2 Gators here. Oh my gosh, we got 2 Gators. And for sure, it is absolutely our honor to share our platform with candidates who will be representing a majority minority district. We feel that it is our responsibility to ensure that our community is informed and understand what is at stake, and specifically what actually is the role of a congressperson. We are disheartened by what we see at the border in the treatment of Haitian refugees. We also know that millennials are still waiting for student debt relief. We're still trying to figure out many things. What are our solutions on climate change? And we for sure need elected officials who are going to fight, who are going to stand in the gap for not only just our communities, because we are just one of many that for sure have been marginalized, but we stand here not only on behalf of Haitian Americans, but the entire District 20 to say that we hear you, and we know that if folks have follow-up questions that they can reach out to you all. And if you all need anything from us, Avancé Ensemble, please let us know. We'll continue to do this with other candidates, and we appreciate y'all so much. We for sure are holding on really strong to our freedom-fighting activist history. This is who Haitian people are. This is what we've committed to over all of the generations, and we'll continue to align ourselves to provide a platform for folks who can improve our lot in life. Thank y'all so much. We really appreciate it. And we for sure will be in touch. And I will apologize for going over.